Hello, everyone. Give it 1 second till I warm up here. I believe we're good. Okay, so today is Wednesday, September 30th, last day of September. So we are moving along with our hybrid model. And in the news lately, I'm sure we've heard of some COVID cases, and we have a few in Niagara County in school districts. Niagara Falls was on about Maple Avenue School. And then we have Lockport, Starpoint, and Lew-Port to a much smaller scale and degree. So we continue to meet with Dan Stapleton from the Niagara County Department of Health, and they do all the contact tracing. I'm actually shocked that the phone hasn't rung for North Tonawanda yet for a case. We have had people with symptoms or who have been known to be exposed to someone with COVID, but no live cases in North Tonawanda, so that's good news. So we continue along that way. I know there's probably questions about why Niagara Falls closed a school, why other districts are only quarantining 4 or 5 people. And there's basically a checklist and questions that the Department of Health calls and asks school districts once they get a live COVID case. And it depends on the amount of time and contact the person who has the COVID was in a building. And it also depends on sort of the actions that they were doing. So were they socially distancing, were they wearing masks and that thing. So there's not while there's a set standard, you have to look at each case individually. So that's where we're at, and we're lucky that North Tonawanda doesn't have any yet, but that could change at any moment. So we'll keep you posted on that. It'll be notified through a global call, most likely, as well as then letters sent home with parents. So there's been an update on the iPad cords. The iPad cords came in today. So we were tracking them coming all the way from Ohio, and they actually got into Buffalo yesterday at 4 a.m. And they were delivered to us today. They were counted out by building and are being delivered to the building. So I'm sure you'll be contacted shortly on how to pick up the cord if you got an iPad without a charging cord. The other thing we want to kind of refresh parents on and talk to people about is attendance. So if you chose the hybrid model, obviously you're supposed to be in school 2 days a week and then remotely for 3. And there are students who chose the full remote, but we're still tracking attendance by how they log into the learning systems. If your student, and it's probably mostly for high school students, but if your student should not feel well on a day that they were supposed to report a hybrid model, the same rules apply where parents should call them in sick that day, or they have to get out early for a doctor's appointment and follow the normal procedures. Students should not be getting up in the morning and deciding, it's a rainy day like today and I don't feel like driving there. I will just go on remote. It's not an either or. If you locked into hybrid, you're supposed to report those 2 days, and if you can't for some reason, then you follow the normal calling in sick and attendance policies that we've had in place forever. That'll be important down the road so that when we look at what's going to happen after week 10 going into week 11, we have numbers that we can look at to see what the attendance has been and how many more students, if any, can we bring back and what that looks like. So please keep that in mind going forward and have a talk with your students about the importance of coming the 2 days that they signed up for. And COVID reports, iPads. So we have started the planning and some preliminary meetings for a 5-week review in-house to sort of say what's working, what's not working. We look at everything from special education courses to advanced courses, all the way to the busing, as well as the numbers in classrooms and what the attendance has been on those days. Because our goal, as I've always said, is to get back to normal and open. The stumbling block for that is that the restrictions from the state are we have to guarantee that we'll be able to socially distance in classrooms, which means 6 feet between them, and put the normal precautions in with cleaning and hand sanitizing and wearing masks. So as we look towards what week 11 might look like, and if those restrictions don't get lifted, we're more than likely looking at a hybrid model for through the holidays. Okay, and then we'll see what happens after the election and after the new year, where they keep saying a vaccine might be coming, and how quickly that can be put out. So that's all going to be in that realm of our discussions for the next week 11 to basically week 20 then going forward. There's been some comments on Facebook and some phone calls about the Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday attendance and why we did that. So I'll just do a quick recap. There were districts who went every 2 days like that and then every other Friday. And there are districts who are following the same model that I had done. And in North Tonawanda, with the small city school district that we have, I felt it was important to give us a day with no students in the building, as well as then if there were people who were sick or getting COVID tested, it buys us basically 5 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and vice versa if you count it up for if you're a Thursday, Friday person before you come in. And that's very important from what the Department of Health has told us as far as the time to get test results. So that way we're not having to go back and close classrooms or put people out on quarantine unnecessarily. So it gives us that time where otherwise they could be in the building every other day, and now we've got a problem with not having 24 hours in between, and that they're in the building every 3 days a week instead of 2. So that's part of it. And the other part of it is people were asking, it felt like that the Monday, Tuesday children will be behind because the Thursday, Friday students started first. And we have Monday, October 12th off, so there's another day that Monday, Tuesday students are not in session. But coming up for Thanksgiving, we will have the Thursday, Friday off. So basically, we'll only be off one day between the Tuesday, Thursday, and the Monday, Friday for the first 10 weeks that we go through this. So with that in mind, we'll monitor it for going forward. As of now, the governor has not said that, like in the spring where we kind of like worked through spring break and got out early. So we're still planning on a Thanksgiving recess, a Christmas recess, and a spring recess. So those are all still in the calendar, but like I said, those things can change as we go. So right now, next week on the 7th, which is the next time I'll be talking to you as well, that morning we have teachers and administrators together to sort of start that planning for what week 11 looks like and what we might tweak for week 5 through 10. So that's a lot of work that's going on here in addition to the normal, let's try and get everybody up to date with the new programs and get parents and teachers and students all set for that piece as far as learning remotely. So let's get a couple questions. Someone's saying just shut down and don't call me with a scary COVID voicemail. Well, I won't be scary, and we'll give you the facts, and you can always make your choice as parents. That's your choice to decide how that'll be. Can the bus drivers and aides get their break room back between social distancing and cleaning? I'm sure we can handle the situation. We are adults. We are looking at that, and I've called the person who called me back, but it's not so much the break room itself as you could probably only have 5 or 6 people in there and be socially distanced at one time. It is an internal break room, which means there's no outside doors or windows, and that all factors into it. I want to thank the person who called the fire department to have that checked out, because they did call me and agreed with me that it is a safety issue as far as that goes. So, but that being said, we realize that the bus drivers have to get here early and warm up the buses and then don't have any place necessarily to go. So we're looking for alternatives as far as that goes, so that they're not sitting on a cold bus when they get here early. But there's more to come on that. I know that the personnel department's working on that so that we can kind of come up with a safe alternative. Are there cases within the school district? Not at this time that I've been notified, no COVID cases. We are doing well with the hybrid here. It's not perfect, but it's working. Good to hear. How are you going to transition the students into the building that are currently remote and want to switch to hybrid after the 10 weeks? So that's part of the plan, is to start making those phone calls for that piece and watching the numbers for the classroom. So it's possible that everybody who wants to be in a hybrid model will not be able to come on the 2 days by their last name of the alphabet based on space in the room, or it could be possible that at a certain point we just won't be able to have everybody who wants to come back in. So those are going to be part of the planning sessions we do over the starting next week, looking at those numbers, and then much like we had to do in August and early September, where we called families, we'll have to do that again and sort of say, this is the space we have, and is it available? Does it work for you? The issue, though, right now I can tell you, is that the morning and afternoon bus routes are just about at capacity with the social distancing of 22. So as we open up and we can bring more back in, it may not be with transportation. So we get into some sticky areas there for people who need that. So all that will be considered as we go forward. It'll be almost like restarting again. Will the remote option still be happening in week 11, or will everyone be back in person? The remote option is happening for the foreseeable future, as well as the hybrid model. Everyone back in person every day is not happening, so long as there's restrictions from the state, because we can't socially distance. So I can continue to remote learn. Yes. Remote learning for kindergarten is extremely difficult. Today my kindergarten had no work assigned. So we'll look up the last name and see what's going on with that piece. It is very difficult for kindergarten. We've even talked about that, where secondary, it's very easy to do assigned tests or quizzes or have them follow a schedule, but we know the attention span of a kindergartner, even when they're in the building in front of us, is very hard. So now being at home with all the distractions and trying to focus on a computer is difficult. So we've talked about what that looks like at K3 might be a different model than 4 through 12 even. So everything's on the table for discussion starting next week. At some point this year, will there still be BoCES shadowing field trips so kids can figure out what they want to go for next year? Well, BoCES would have to schedule that. When we'd have to then work on a way to do that safely for busing out there. I don't think that it would be off the board as far as BoCES. The other thing that they might do is do a virtual tour for BoCES to show them the program and walk them through that way. I haven't talked to BoCES yet about that, but we will add it to the list and see what answers we can get. But I feel like I can't keep up. Well, the person who feels like they can't keep up, that is a difficult piece, right? You know, because now you have to make time for that as well. I do know that we have social workers in all the buildings. We do have some support for the teachers to help make out, calls and see how people are doing. So if you're feeling like that's a problem, I'd first start with the classroom teacher. And then they can kind of say, well, no, the work that's coming in is great, or yes, it does seem to be a little bit behind the others, and then offer you some suggestions to help you keep up. We work and cannot sit with her, making sure it's all done. Assignments are confusing. Yeah, maybe a lotto draw. Someone's talking about how to get kids back in. Yes, some of the, especially as the kids get older, you won't understand some of it. I went through that myself with my own kids going through school. I had the same issue, and the building principal was able to get someone to do a virtual meeting with her once a day. Yeah, so yeah, we're just now really, if you think about it, kids have only been in school 2, 4, 6, 8 days maybe. So they've only really been in school in the building for just over a week and a half. So September is always an adjustment period, and this is just a longer adjustment period because we have like three learning modes going on. So I think you'll fit into a little bit more of a pattern as time goes on. Everyone's going great so far. Thank you for the teachers and staff at Ohio. Kids who are going now won't lose their transportation due to that, correct? That's not the plan, but you saw someone else said like, well, maybe there's a lottery or something like that. So we'll have to see how many requests we have and what we're doing. So I can't say yes or no to that, but that's not the plan at the moment. I'm so confused. If you can't social distance, you're supposed to use a mask. So why couldn't 5 days happen with kids wearing masks? Because the don't be confused, but the guidance from the state is masks and social distance, not either or. So you can't just have 25 kids in a classroom that aren't socially distanced. You have to have 6 feet between them wearing masks. So that is the guidance. It's online at the state as well as on the district webpage. You have to have both. I feel the same way with multiple kids, and they would rather do anything else but schoolwork. Yeah, I agree. Um, Kenton seems to have a great virtual model going. Is it possible to reach out and see if they could assist and improve our model? So that I think this is the same person who is about kindergarten. So we'll check into that, see what we can do. Will there be a virtual help? Will there be virtual help for teachers? When my daughter needs help, the teacher is in class and can't answer back until later. Then I'm at work. Um, so we are putting those in place 4 through 12. That shouldn't be a problem. We do have that where people are available, or there's hours of the day available for certain grade levels. At K3, we're still working that out to see what might be the best for those people to help them and have that assistance. So, yeah, we're still evolving the plan as far as accessibility. I know Spruce School was asking me today if they could do small groups of parents in to help them with the technology and show them what's expected and how to submit work. So I think you'll see things coming out in bits and pieces because we've been hearing, and Facebook Live's been very helpful, but we've been hearing too from phone calls through teachers to teachers as well as administrators and our social workers what parents are looking for or needing to help them be more successful in this model, and then we meet to add that as we need it. So we're also doing some support for teachers during the day who are new to trying to live stream or record a lesson, that type of thing. That's all new for them as well. So we're putting a lot of supports in place daily, and that's not out of the realm. So I'm thinking in Kenton they might have done a different way to schedule the kids as far as full remote teachers. NT didn't do that. Niagara Falls didn't do that. Some other districts didn't do that. And I'd have to call them and also see how they work that into a budget system. There are ways to do it with current staff, but then you lose other services because you take people who are doing current remedial services or something like that and put them into a remote model. So that might be a new model for week 11 through 20, but right now it's still in the planning stage. We need more time slots to do packet pickup for pre-K 4. 9 to 2 does not work for parents that work full time. So if it depends how many there is and what's happening there. I mean, the school's open later, so there's a possibility to call and make arrangements to pick it up later. The problem is we don't have a lot of after-school activities going on because they have to start with the cleaning and sanitizing. So There's not usually there'd be a base program or something going on, and people could pick it up later. But if it's a big problem, I know the ad building, there's usually people here later. They could send it to the office here on Walk Road, and we could put it out in the vestibule where someone could drive by and pick it up here. So if it's not, a ton of people, we can definitely work to accommodate that. So I would call the school, tell them that you're having that problem, and see what suggestions they have. All right, so we're going to continue to update you weekly. Remember what I started with, that if you needed an iPad cord, they were delivered today. So you should be hearing from those buildings as how you can get your cord soon. Student attendance, if you're currently in a hybrid model, you're supposed to call them in sick as normal, not just assume that they can hop on and do work from home that day. And there's no live COVID reports as of 2:15 on September 30th yet in North Tonawanda. The teachers my kids have, teachers in TI and middle, have been wonderful. Answer when they can, and it's usually within an hour. My daughter had math questions and pictures for school. Today, during her math team times, her teachers met with her after. Thank you so much, Mrs. Boyko. I'm being told that several teachers are not having classes on Wednesdays. Is that true? Well, Tammy, if you know because your students didn't have classes on Wednesday, that you should call and talk. There is an option on Wednesday to do an assignment and then offer the office hours. So there might not be 5 lessons on a Wednesday, but they should all have something that maybe they got on Tuesday to carry them through till they're all back online Thursday. So there should be something to do, but there might not be actual classes on Wednesday in every teacher's class. My son is 4 days in person and is required to keep his iPad at school. So it says, when's he allowed to bring home? Wait a minute, we lost it because people were chiming in here. When he's allowed to bring it home on Tuesday night only, if not allowed to bring his charger, it has to stay in the classroom. I have a couple of issues with this. My main one. The school suddenly closed. So he's in a small class, like a 611 or a 1211. They want to make sure the iPad's there every day. So in this case, from what we learned from March, which is different from September, is that if the school were to close, we won't keep the building sealed like we did in March. They would be able to come in and pick up supplies and things in some kind of orderly way. So you wouldn't go again months without an iPad. So that won't be a problem that way. If the charger was staying in school, we did get the new cords in now, so I'd call the school and see if there's one available for you so they have one at home. So that's not a problem. Tammy, who's typing in a lot about Wednesdays, can you give me a grade level, please? My child has an orthodontist appointment on a day they are virtually learning, hybrid. Do I call them in sick for that appointment to the school so that they are appropriately marked absent from class? I just don't want to make it look like So you're scheduling an orthodontist appointment on a hybrid day, which means you're not in school. And there is some flexibility in the hybrid day as far as signing in. So if you're not going to be at the orthodontist for 6 hours, I would say no, because they can sign in and get there. But it depends on your child, your teacher's schedule, what they're expecting them to do. But my understanding is that if they're live streaming a class, it is recorded and they can watch it afterwards. I have a middle schooler and I have had only a few teachers reaching out, even trying to help. Others just say, here is the work. So I think that could be easily corrected by calling the middle school. making sure they have the right teachers and what's happening there. Sometimes, sadly, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? But if they're not hearing from you, they might think that everything is understood. So if you don't understand it, I would contact their teachers directly, and tell them that, we haven't seen anything or we don't understand the assignment and they should get back to you right away. If not, there's always the principal as the next step. Uh, I really think the not accepting late work in the middle school needs to be looked at. Assignments are due at 8 p.m. As a working parent, I don't get home until 5:30. My child then is stressed because he needs help. So then it's a 0, stressing both of us out. Um, I'm sure that's not for every particular class, and I would need to know more details, but I would work with that teacher and explain it to them because this is unusual times, and I think if you explain what's happening, um, but you can't go on forever, right? So 8:30, 8 becomes 9. Is an hour really going to help? Is it you need 2 days more? I mean, they're not going to go. It's just like if they were coming to school every day. At some point, you have to start, taking points off or counting it as a 0. Those rules have been in place forever. But if this is a problem where an extra hour would help you, I think they could accommodate you. I agree with that. I get home the same time, so looking at the hours. My daughter had one yesterday. She emailed both teachers and they were great about it and posted notes to her that she missed. So I'm assuming that's the orthodontist appointment. I have found emailing the teachers with direct question is helpful at the high school level. Yeah, it's going to be a learning. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to get any better for parents. I just have to tell you, because my kids are now both at college, and my older son was stressing out when I stopped at lunch because he was supposed to have an exam that was available and he couldn't find it, and the teacher said if it wasn't submitted by a certain time, they would take points off. And so I spent the lunch trying to find his math exam and ended up telling him just email the teacher because we can't find it. So technology is not the answer. Being in person back in school is our goal. So we hope to get there. But since this is where we have to be right now, we want to make it the best for everybody. But we also can't have 3,600 individual technology plans for every student. The rules are the rules as far as due dates and times. I'm sure that when we were in school, people handed in papers late or lost them, and those things are taken care of on an individual basis. All right, so stay safe, stay strong. Let's hope I can get another week without having to come on and say that we have COVID cases in North Tonawanda. It's been um, extremely lucky that we got this far, and I wish you all a safe weekend. Continue to go Bills, right? 3-0, so that's good, and let's hope for positives and better weather. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll be back next week.